Okay, good morning, everybody. Uh, this is the shitty me. How's that for an introduction? Um, yeah, I thought I'd better do this. It's only fair. As I've said, I think already, I believe in honesty and truth. Try to chase it as much as possible. So, uh, in the name of that, sometimes I've talked about radical honesty. I know a lot of people disagree with me and think that there are lots of things we shouldn't share. And that's probably true. I'm not going to share everything. Uh, but I will share lots, and that includes today, which is today is a down day for me. Not exactly sure why. Um, Certainly, sleep has a lot to do with it, or lack of sleep. Um, you know, and I don't know which comes first. Sometimes, I start to feel. The other day, I know I was feeling a little unappreciated, a little sorry for myself. Um, doesn't always last very long. It used to last a lot longer. And again, since this is about figuring out who I am, I guess I should approach it that way too. And so I was thinking this morning about when did I first ever feel this way? And I think my first memory of it was in university. Um, and the only reason I remember that is I remember my mom calling me. I think I was in maybe third year university, and I was struggling. University wasn't a great time for me. It was good, not a great time academically. Um, but I remember her encouraging me just to come home. She felt like I was depressed and said, "Why don't you just drop out and come home?" And at that point, I remember thinking, "No, I have to finish this," which I did. And I'm glad I did. But that's really my first memory of any sort of sense of depression. I think I mentioned the other day, that there's been a history of certainly what we used to think was depression in my family. Um, and now maybe we're learning it's something else. But yeah, that's definitely was the first time. Uh, but I did have struggles during my teaching career for sure. I had towards the end of my career, I did have to take some time off. Um, I just, well, I mean, I remember the first time it happened, and so often with me, what would happen is I would start feeling down and I'd look for the next big break. So I was waiting to the March break and I kind of said to myself, oh, just get to the March break and you'll be fine. You'll be recharged. And so I made it to the March break, rested during the March break and then went back. And I remember walking into the school that day. And when I walked into the school, I just started shaking. And I had never had that happen to me before. And so I had to go and talk to my vice principal and she told me to go home. And then I went and saw my doctor and eventually took some time off just to kind of try to figure things out. Of course, well, I mean, actually, my doctor's pretty good. He didn't push drugs on me, but he suggested maybe taking some antidepressants or something like that. I think I even got the prescription filled, although I never took them. And yeah, and so I used to describe to people now that I can look back on that. I used to describe it to people like I could feel myself as the day went on, getting lower. Then I'd go home and I'd try to recharge, but I never really get school out of my head. It's one of the things with, at least for me, with school was it never left me. And that's just things that happened in the day would go through my head all night and feel worse. And I wouldn't get quite back up to the level the next day, right? So it's kind of like steps down. And eventually I'd get to a point where I guess I couldn't do it anymore. And so after that, for a few years, I taught part time just because that seemed to, if I taught mornings, that would give me some time to recharge. And that worked for a while. Certainly, I've been much better since I retired. I expect, so how will I deal with this today? Well, I'll do this. I'll do a little bit of work as much as I can. I'll certainly sit. I'll have a meditation later on just to kind of sit with this. I'll remind myself, as I often do, that everything is temporary and that this too will pass. Perhaps I'll get out in nature. It's a little gray and rainy today, but go for a walk in the woods. That often helps. Yeah, keep busy, right? But also not be hard on myself. I might take some time. Maybe I'll go play a video game. Maybe this morning I read quite a bit, and but not beat myself up over it. Maybe is the most important thing. So yeah, so part of what I'm searching for is why am I like this? What has caused this to happen in my brain? Again, I have no doubt that it's connected to culture. It's the things that I've learned or been conditioned to believe. I know that often depression for some people comes because they compare their lives to others. And that's part of the reason why I'm doing this, right? One of the things with social media that I often argue is people love to put up on social media when good things happen in their lives. But when those things either don't turn out the way they thought, or maybe there's a negative turn, you don't share that, right? Most people don't share that. So it's like, I think I saw somewhere someone says, like, uh, listening to the greatest hits, right? So we get to see the highlights of people's lives, but not the lowlights. And I think that that's important that we at least acknowledge that. At least from my point of view, it is, because I know that everybody goes through this. I know there are people who will say they don't feel depressed and they don't feel down, and maybe that's true. But again, I'm not sure that they're living full lives if that's the case. I mean, this is part of what it is to live, and certainly in my Buddhist teaching or reading, I should say, um, I've learned that suffering is part of life, and how you face it, I guess, is the most important thing. So anyway, just wanted to share that today. Hope you're having a good day, and if you're not, if you're feeling down, that's okay too. Be kind to yourself. I will try to do the same today, and yeah, and just get through the day. Anyway, take care.